Can I go ahead or
Just a second.
okay?
All right, you can go ahead.
Okay. I've got a question around the Terraform project.
Mm-hmm.
Been, yeah, trying to work on it. But I noticed you um used an Amazon image AMI from, I don't know if it's from one of the projects you did, or is it something that I can create on my own, create like an EC2 instance, an image out of it, and then use that image in that project, or I need to go through something else?
So the way the Terraform project is set up is before you do the Terraform project, you are supposed to complete the same project using the management console. So in that
Oh,
project, in that project, we build an AMI, right?
right.
So the AMI is what we are using in the Terraform project. And I did it that way um, because at work, you don't really use Terraform to install applications. So the installation part of an application, we don't use Terraform to do that. There are other tools that are more efficient in helping you install an application. So I didn't want to go the route of um, directing you guys to install the application using Terraform. Although when I update the course, will be installing it with Terraform. And I just want to make the Terraform project independent from the EC2 one. But yes, you are supposed to complete the project in the management console. When we completed that project, we built an AMI that our application is configured on. So when we are deploying the same application using Terraform, we just use that AMI and our application should be up. One reason why I did it this way is so if you guys want to have that opportunity to present the application during your interview, if you already have an AMI that is up, you just have to use your Terraform code to launch your infrastructure, use the AMI, and your application will be up by the time you apply Terraform. But if you didn't complete that project in the management console, yes, if you build your own AMI now, or just use any AMI, you'll still be able to complete the Terraform project, but you won't have a configured application at the end of your Terraform project. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It makes sense. And now I get exactly what it is. But that particular project, I think it's called the application on there. I don't see, because I looked for that same um, project
Mhm.
on building it on is it the management console? I couldn't find it.
Okay, so let me share my screen. So I'm in the process of updating the projects now, and I've updated the dynamic website, but I haven't updated Terraform yet. So in the Terraform project, you will see me referring to for example, the fleet card project, which is no longer
Exactly.
in there, right?
Yeah.
But the concept is still the same. So in your account, this is the host the dynamic web application that you are supposed to complete
Mhm.
on the EC2 instance. So when you complete this project, you also create an AMI here. So just use that AMI in your Terraform project.
Okay.
So
Good.
so the concept is still the same. It doesn't don't get confused by the name. The application we are trying to deploy and the process is the same. So
Yeah, because I kind of like knew that it's similar to this project that you're pointing to now, but I was
mhm.
like, no, he's not using the flip card. But I knew exactly that. I kind of like knew that, hey, he's talking about the same thing. It's going to be very, very similar. Yeah. But
Yeah,
now that you just made it clear, it makes sense now.
yeah. So that is also why I like that it's set up this way, because that is another way that I'm challenging you guys on your understanding. So understand that anything that I put in the project, everything that is in the project right now works. So you'll be able to deploy the application exactly how I said it's going to work. It is going to work that way. So now that I'm updating the application, let's say I've changed the application on this
Okay.
project,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm.
Um, where I'm challenging you guys to, where I want to see that understanding is basically you've deployed this application on AWS using EC2 and the management console. Can you use that same process to deploy it using Terraform? You understand? So it's still
Yeah.
the same application you are doing. You just now with the Terraform project, which is why I'm always saying that when you are, I'm not talking to you, Daniel. So this is just a general statement. When
Okay.
you guys are working on Terraform project, that is not the time to learn how to configure an application. You should already know how to configure an application, how to create different resources in the management console. Terraform is just, you are just trying to find a code. For example, let's say you are trying to launch an EC2 instance. With Terraform, you're just trying to find the code that will allow you to do that. So you understand? So really your Terraform project should be nothing more than finding the code to do something you are trying to do in AWS. Just like if you are trying to terminate an EC2 instance in AWS and you need a CLI command to do that, you are just trying to find the CLI command that will allow you to do that. And Terraform is the same. So your Terraform project should be nothing more than figuring out how to write the code to do something in AWS, but you should already understand what you are trying to do and how to configure that stuff in the AWS manually. Does that make sense? So, which is why for me, I always highly recommend, don't even, and this is a general statement to everyone, don't even start a Terraform project if you have not deployed that same thing you are trying to do with Terraform in the management console. It is very important. At least when I'm teaching you, this is what I did to learn. And when I worked on my Terraform project, it took me maybe about a week to work on it. That's the first time working on a Terraform project. And it took me a week because I already understood how to do a lot of the things in the management console. And I was just go to the documentation. Okay, I'm trying to launch an EC2 instance. Where is the documentation to launch an EC2 instance? Copy their example, then start modifying something on it. And that is pretty much how I learned different things, how I learned how to deploy different things using Terraform. And even now, they still assign stuff to me at work where it might be a service that I haven't used before in AWS. You know, the first thing I do, I'll go to the console, launch that service. Or because whatever settings you picked when you are launching that service in AWS using the management console, you just go and find that same settings in the Terraform documentation, and that's all you are doing. So that is why I always highly recommend that you guys complete the project using the management console before you do it on Terraform. So just to say, for this project, the concept is the same. So I want you to use the concept of when you deploy this application in the management console, you know, for example, let's say now, let me try to open the reference architecture. Okay. So let's say this is the reference architecture for that project and you've completed it in the management console. So if I was working on this project in Terraform, I already understand how to do all these things in the management console. The next thing I'm going to do is, okay, how did I build this application in the management console? I started by creating my VPC. So the first thing you do is write your Terraform code to create your VPC. Once you've created your VPC, then the next thing is, what else did I do when I was configuring this thing in the management console? Once I created my VPC, I created my NAT gateway in the VPC. So how did you create your NAT gateway? It's the same exact settings you use when you were doing it in the management console that you will use in Terraform. So you write your Terraform code to create NAT gateways. And that is how you guys start to learn how to use Terraform to create each individual resources. So when you guys are looking at Terraform code as a whole, don't get intimidated by, nobody just writes all the Terraform code at once like that. But I want you guys to break it down into smaller concepts. Okay, I created my VPC. I created a NAT gateway in it. Then I created an application load balancer, and you just start writing your Terraform code that way. Does that make sense? I know I said it a lot, but that is the concept.
But anyway, I know you said we. Do you know what time because I've got other things that I wanted to talk about
Um,
offline. Yeah.
Yeah, we can meet after class. That's fine. If you're still here. If not, maybe I my sister is in town and she's coming to visit me. So right after class, if she's here, I do have to attend to her, but if not, I'll be online later on this evening. So
Yeah, we can do. I mean, just give me the time that's okay with you, and yeah, in the evening,
um
that's fine.
okay. I'll message you on Slack.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. And then also, I think let me, if you don't mind, let me share my screen real quick.
Sure. Just a second. Let me clear
Okay.
this.
I'm having some issues with my management console. I noticed something. I don't know if it's just me or
Okay.
everyone else is going through the same thing.
All right. Sure. Share your screen.
I'm trying to move this away. Okay. If you check out my management console, this is my EC2
Mm-hmm.
page. I'm getting this error, which I'm not aware of at all.
Hmm. Are you using admin? Is this your root account you are using to, or
Yes.
is it like this your root account? Not
Yeah.
okay. Um, is anyone having seen this error in their console? So an error occurs retrieving service error. So go
Can you click
to
on load
that,
balancer? Can you click
click
on the
on,
load balancers?
Haven't seen that in, nah.
okay. Click that X, yeah, close it. Signature not yet current. Signature does not match. Signature not yet current.
Can you click the refresh button at the top? And what permission does this user have? Like, are you sure this is 100% the root or?
Yeah,
It
that's
is.
you sure? Go to your IAM.
Let
Let's see.
me,
Yeah, it's showing that because his name is there usually
yeah,
when it's oh
I just might.
it could be because you logged out. So sometimes like how your page is logged in like that, if you were not on that page for a while, it will be logged out, but it will still allow you. Oh no, that's not it. So I haven't seen this before. The data could not be. Go to IAM. Let me see. Um, okay. And click user. All right. Go back to that home page again and copy that error, send it to me. I want to just look it up online. It might just be something.
Have you?
Where were you saying it on EC2? Okay.
API error.
Um, go to that AWS health dashboard. Sometimes when AWS is having some type of health thing, they would post it there.
Has anyone signed into their account right now that we're doing it? Talking now.
Yeah,
Yeah. Is someone saying something? I think I was hearing someone in the background. But I just were you saying something? Your voice is kind of low, so I'm not sure.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not having the error, but I was saying that did he try to use a different browser?
Um,
I'm using Chrome now.
from yeah.
I'm
Um,
not having it.
so there's no health issue here. Are you?
The
Is
thing
this
is, I
the?
had my laptop. I had some work done on it yesterday to today. They kind of like changed a lot of stuff. Maybe that's what's causing it.
Do you have another computer to log into your console on it? I
Yes.
mean, it's showing. Try it that way. Try logging in on your other computer and see if you still have that issue. But let me send that error to me so I can look it up. I'm not sure because AWS is not having any service out
Yeah,
there.
because initially I thought it was like probably it's AWS, that thing, and then now that someone just confirmed that they're not having that issue.
API error. An error.
API error.
What happens if you click diagnose with Amazon Q?
I tried it.
Yeah, can you open incognito and log in to your console, a new browser, but use incognito. So yeah, new incognito window.
Just signed into my console. I don't see that message. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's just something on his end. I don't think it's an AWS issue.
Yeah, even incognito. Yeah, it's the same.
So I think it's probably just something with this root user. Do you have any other AWS? Is it the only AWS account you have?
Yeah, for now. Yeah, that's the only one I have for now.
Okay.
What I'll do is I'll try on another laptop and see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if that works
Send
out.
that, click on that load balancer, that error that was in there, send that error to me. And I'll look it up for you too. And you remember when you clicked on the load balancer over there where it says the API error? Yeah, you can click there.
Let me see.
Yeah, send that
It doesn't show.
signature that way saying that signature not yet current in there. Yeah. So in that load balancer, copy that one and send it to me.
Let me see if I can just take a screenshot of it.
Okay.
Okay, cool. It should be fine. Okay, I'll send that right away.
Okay, I'll look it up for you and I'll let you know whatever I found.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. All right. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Daniel.
Dylan, your voice is breaking really bad, so I can barely hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now? A little bit better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. I'm having a problem with GitHub. I'm looking at a error code 404, and I don't know how to solve it. And
What?
when I launch, this all ties back to my EC2. Now my EC2, it ran, but when I started running like sudo update and all that kind of stuff like that, when I was going down the list in EC2, I didn't see index .tmh file. So I know where the TMS file is located at. So I went to my GitHub. Now my GitHub is not it's just showing blanks, but it's not like blue. Like the folder's blue is not activated or anything like that. So I know I'm reaching a code 404 and I don't know how to fix it.
What project are you working on?
The very first one.
The very first one. Okay. Do you have it up now? Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you see me? Can
Yeah,
you see it?
I can see your screen. Yes.
Okay. See, with this file right here,
Mm-hmm.
when I click on it, I go into it, it's blank.
Okay, but you uploaded all your code into it, right?
Yeah, I uploaded all the code into it. I can show you.
All right, yeah, I can see it. So, um, can you maximize that your GitHub page? Let me see something. Just yeah, maximize it. All right. File upload 3 days ago. So let's show me where on your computer you have that those application code. I mean, on your computer, not on your EC2. So the way you remember you downloaded it and you had to upload it to your GitHub.
Okay, yeah. I did it 3 times.
It should be like a zip file or something. So that will only contain your command. So remember the zip file, you have to download the zip file, right? Then upload the zip file, then unzip it, then you upload. That's what you upload into your repository.
Yeah, I downloaded, but I don't see the zip files.
Okay, it's fine. Do you mind downloading it again? So go to that lecture and just download that zip file.
I did, but it keeps opening up in Visual Studio Code. Like when I click on it,
It must be how your computer is set up, but
it goes
don't.
here, but I don't need it to go
Oh,
here.
okay. Oh, okay. That no. So you can open up anything. So that's what we're looking for, but it's just the way your computer is set up. Your computer is set up to open zip in Visual Studio Code. You have to change that setting. That's your computer doing that.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
So
Uh,
you can close this.
close this. Okay.
Yeah.
Close this too.
So no, don't close that. So you can delete the Jupyter 3, 1, 2, 3, delete those.
One, two.
Yeah. All right. So right click on that Jupyter, open with Windows Explorer. Click Windows Explorer. We need to set your default app. Let me check what my so go back to where that file is again and do open with, and we'll just do app. We need to figure out where your so right click on it, open with, choose another app. No, the last one. Choose another app. All right. Click File Explorer and always. All right. So close it now. Close this one. All right, there you go. So now you need to unzip it and click Extract All. So it's saying that file is empty. It's probably because it was, so you just have to re-download it again. So click Cancel and delete that file. All right. So now download it again from the course.
Hey, Aziz, not to cut you guys off, but I was able to log
Go
into
ahead.
my account using another laptop. So it's
Oh,
the
okay.
laptop. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Just so you know.
it might be a setting on that laptop that is
Yeah, because
blocking.
I just had someone, they did some stuff onto it anyway. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so cool.
Mhm.
So it will be in your on the website, not if you let me find it for you if you can find it. I'll send it to you just a second.
Shit, man, I thought I had it open.
No, you're fine. Take your time. So one thing I do want to mention while we're working on this is like you guys don't be afraid to share your screen and sometimes like put yourself in like vulnerable situations when it comes to like learning because like I'm pretty much saying everything we are doing now is at some point during your career you'll be doing it. There will be many times where you would have to share your screen in front of other people. You would you may have to give demos on what you're working on. You may have to troubleshoot with other people. So I mean, it's just better to get in the habit of doing that. So you guys don't be afraid to put yourself in uncomfortable situations because you would need it when you start working. So let me download the file for you and I'll send it. I'll send it to you on Slack.
New link.
Just a second.
AZ. You
Yeah.
want me to open a new link? All right.
No, I'm sending it to you on Slack. I can't see what you're doing now because I'm sending something to you. So I've sent this zip file to you on Slack. Open it. Oh, okay. Did you?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
you are,
downloaded
oh,
it.
oh,
Yeah.
you already downloaded. Okay. So
Yeah. All
go
right.
to your downloads directory. Let me see. All right. Yes, open it. Like right click on it and click extract all. There you go. And click extract. Okay. So now in this one, open that folder, just double click on it to open it. Double click on it. You have to click on there. So here, so leave this as it is now. So don't do anything with this. So now go to your GitHub repository. All right, let's delete everything from this repository. Or you know what? Copy that host the static website on AWS. Copy that name for now. All right. So let's delete that repository. So click settings there, and scroll all the way down. Delete this repository. Click that button, the last one. Yes, I want to delete this repository. Yes, I understand. And it wants you to type that. Oh, well. Yeah. Yeah, just click out. So make sure you click on that page that it is giving you that warning because
Okay.
when you do that, so when it gives you that little thing that is in your way, click on the same screen. So
You talking about this right here?
yes,
Click on this.
no, click on that screen up there. You see that where that little box, yeah, click somewhere there. No, just in up there. Yeah, click somewhere that there you go. Then click delete repository. You have to sign in to.
They sent it to me. Let's see.
Ibrahim, I'll get to you shortly.
Come on.
Okay. It's still
Wait
showing that
up,
you have to accept it on your mobile.
it ain't come through on my mobile. I'm looking for it right
So
now.
open the app on your mobile and you have to put this 97 in it. It should ask you for that number on your screen and you have to put it in it.
Damn.
That's fine. I mean, that timed out. So is it popping on your mobile or is not popping on your mobile? So now you should get a notification on your whatever mobile you're using for your GitHub. So you have to open the GitHub app on your mobile. It seems like you set it up that way. So open the app on your mobile device. There you go. All right. So now let's recreate that repository. Click that GitHub icon, the cat thing in the black up there. Click new. Paste that name you copied there, but you copied it with your you can paste the name of the project. Paste what you have something paste. We'll just remove your so go to the beginning of that sentence, that word you just pasted. So go to the beginning of it. So press the arrow. So if you press the back arrow key, that'll show you all the stuff in there. So remove everything, that one, everything before the forward slash and the forward slash as well. Remove that too. Remove that. Backspace. Yeah, keep pressing backspace all the way. And type your H back for your host static website. All right. All right, so it's going to be a public repository. Click add a README file and scroll down and click create repository. All right. So now you are going to upload those web files in this repository. There you go. Then open that your file explorer. No, do it you can do it this way too. The most efficient way is just open that file explorer. The third one. Right? So move it a little bit to the, yeah, just that's perfect. Then select all those files. Drag and drop it in that GitHub thing. No, just select all those files, click to hold and drag and drop it in your GitHub screen. No, select all three. Well, you can do it that way if you want. Just select all three. So once that is done, scroll all the way down and upload it. Yeah, click commit changes. And there you go. And that's how you upload it.
Yeah, I knew that, but when I started running uh like the code that's on the EC2 instance, I was getting a weird output. Yeah, I don't want to take,
No,
I
it's
know how
fine. It's
to.
fine. But um, your code that you had in your GitHub repository before wasn't the right code because you couldn't, when you were trying to open the HTML file, it wasn't showing you anything. So
Right.
if that code is not the right code, it is not going to work on your EC2 instance as well.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
because go back to your GitHub repository and click that HTML file, you will see that code now. It will pop up. So select it.
Yeah.
There you
Okay.
go. So if your code doesn't work, it's not going to work on the server as well. So the main thing is, but do you have your EC2 up? You can show me what errors you can run it now and I'll see what you were doing to get the error.
What I did was I, I started from well, because I know I started from the target group. Then I went from target group to the load balancer, and I stopped it. So um, when I tried to
Okay. So once you launch your EC2 instance, right? You just need
mhm.
to run those commands again, right? But it depends on if you've already installed those applications on your EC2 instance. So you have to, if you've already installed those ones, your HTML,
see see like this right here, this
mhm,
HTML, this install, it didn't work.
it does
No,
work.
no, hold on. It did work. It installed. It's not that one. It's this one right here. This one didn't work. When I was going through the steps on uploading and all that kind of good stuff. And I
Okay.
changed, see how I changed the GitHub and all the information on it.
Okay. So remember in the beginning of like before you start doing the hands-on project, remember I said you have to do the cloud practitioner solutions architect and like do like a Linux course, right?
Mhm.
Right. So have you done the Linux course?
No, I have not.
Yeah. So if you did it, when you do the Linux course, that would help you with like you will understand what this means. So, but let me just explain to you guys what that means. Like this is really simple. So when you are looking at that var ww HTML, right? So I don't want you to get it confused as to the main thing is like when you run the command, I want you to understand what you are running and what is actually going on. So Let me show you something. I'll just do the sample on my computer so you can see. Hmm. Let me see if I remember my password because I'm always using. Okay. So right. Mm. All right, so I'm just launching the EC2 instance because I want to show you something. The first time I worked on the first, you guys know every time when you take some courses online, when you launch your first server, it is always the hello world. But when I was learning AWS for the first time, believe it or not, this simple concept is what start everything for me. And before then, I didn't even take a Linux course, but after that, I understand that Linux course is very important, which is why I'm recommending it to you guys. So when we launch an EC2 instance, right, in the management console, I want you to see how I saw it and how I started understanding it is that see this EC2 instance just like the computer you are working with now, just like I am on my Windows computer, see your EC2 instance the same way. So what is going on is on your computer, let's say you open a file explorer. I'm just going to open a file on my computer here. Right. So let's say you open a file explorer and you go on any directory. So when we say directory, it's just a folder, right? So this is a file explorer on my computer, and in this file explorer, I have different folders. Now I'm in the downloads folder, right? So if I am in the downloads folder and in my downloads folder, there is a folder called, let me pick one. There is a folder called, I don't know why I'm struggling. I'm just going to pick this one, DevOps exercise, right? I click on that DevOps exercise, right? And in that DevOps exercise folder, there's another folder called London. I click on it. But you know what? I have your web application thing download. So let me use this as an example. Extract. Right. So again, I'm on my downloads, which is a folder on my computer. And in my downloads folder, there's a folder called Jupyter. I click on that folder. And in that Jupyter folder, there's a folder called Assets. I click on it, right? So these are different folders that are in folders. If you right click on this, for example, and you click copy address, right? And let me just open it in Notepad. This simple concept took me weeks to understand, but once I was able to understand what's going on, that was really how everything started going up from there when I was learning cloud. So if you copy that directory and you paste it here, you can see what this means, right? It is just saying on my computer, there is a C, right? The C is right here. So what this means is, let's test it out. The C is right here. So it says if I go in the C folder, there's a folder called users. If I click that users, you see. And then in that folder, there is admin, right? Then in the admin folder, there's downloads. If I look here, I should have a downloads folder, right? Download is here. And in the downloads, there's a folder called Jupyter. And in the Jupyter folder, there's a folder called assets, right? You following me so far?
I am.
Okay, cool. So the same exact way this works on your computer is the same exact way it works on an EC2 instance, right? So if I go on my EC2 instance, right, what you are seeing when you see that CD and the var and www HTML, that is just telling you that. So CD, on this, so let's go to EC2 instance, right? On your EC2 instance, you see how on my own personal computer, I have this graphic user interface, these icons to click on, right? And that was how I'm able to navigate into the folder, right? On your Linux EC2 instance, the unfortunate part of it is we don't have those graphic user interface to click on. So how we are able to still do the same thing we are doing on our computer. Let's say you want to go into one folder, into another folder, into another folder. That is when we use the command called cd. So that means change directory. So if I was to, I'm just using this for example. So let's say this is on my, EC2 instance, and I'm trying to change into this directory. I would do cd, assuming I am already in the C directory, because that's my home directory, right? I would do cd /users, right? And if I want to go into the admin on mine, I will type cd /users/admin. Are you following me?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. And if you want to go into the downloads, it will be cd downloads. So that is that cd that you are looking at, right? So I don't want you to focus on the command not working, but if you understand what that command is, that will help you understand what is going on. So let's take that command now from that project. Let's okay. Let me open this in Visual Studio Code. All right. So these are the commands you are using there, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to move this side by side so you can see. In the first command, this is the command, and I've put pretty much the definition of what the command is doing. Now that I'm on my EC2 instance, right? The first thing we always do on an EC2 instance is we change to root user. And when you take a Linux course, you will understand all these things. So these are, and you will understand it as you go because they are, but it is important that you take just a brief course on Linux. You don't have to be an expert on it. Like a 1 hour, 2 hour course is good, right? So when we change our directory, when we log into an EC2 instance, before we start running any commands, we change to root user. This sudo su is the command you use to do that. And what the root user allows you to do is it's just saying you have admin privilege and you can do anything you want to do. So that's why you always see this root sudo su in the beginning of everybody's command. So I'll paste this sudo su here. And once you change to root user, right, this second command just means that we want to update all the software packages that is already on our EC2 instance. They may be out of date. We want to update all of them. So that is what this command is doing. So I'll copy this command.
If you already say you updated this update already on that second update, why?
What did you say?
Is the system going to tell you you already updated already, or is going to give you a different output?
Yes. So you can see when I ran that command, you can see let me change the settings here. Appearance. What? Let me change it. 12. Okay. Can you guys see this better, or should I make it bigger?
Nah, you good. You good.
Okay.
I can see.
All right. You can see when I ran this, it is telling me there is nothing to do.
Right.
So meaning that all the softwares that are on this EC2 instance are already up to date. So it doesn't matter if you keep running this. It doesn't matter if I run this like 10 times. I'll keep getting the same thing. It will tell me nothing to update. So this command in particular would not give you any error if you keep running it over and over, right? So that's that part. Then on the next part, the website we are trying to install on our EC2 instance, right? So this website is a HTML website. Because if I click on this website on my computer, I should be able to open it. You see, it's just it's a static HTML website, right? So sorry, my Zoom thing is in the way. So it is a static HTML website, right? And remember in that video, I also said that when we are installing a static HTML website, again, when I was learning, I was comparing the concept on the EC2 to the same concept on my computer, right? So let's say you want to use Microsoft Word on your computer or any app on your computer, right? You understand that you will have to install that software on your computer before you can use it, right? I'm just speaking on any computer. Let's say I want to use Microsoft Word, for example. I will have to install that software on my computer. I'm talking about just my regular computer that I'm using to do this Zoom call. I'm not talking about the EC2. You understand that part, right? So the same thing works with your EC2. For any application you are trying to install on your EC2, right? When you launch an EC2 instance, AWS does not know what type of application you are trying to install on it. So whatever dependencies, meaning that the package you need for that application to run, most likely will not be on the EC2 instance. So you would have to install that package on your EC2 instance. Just like when you buy your computer from Best Buy, right? Your computer may not your computer may not come with Microsoft Word. So if you want to use Microsoft Words on it, you have to install it on it. It's the same way with this one. AWS does not know what type of application you are trying to launch on your EC2 instance, right? So you would have to install that application. Since we are hosting a static website, we need to install HTTP server, the Apache HTTP server. This, once you start working on an application, you will know. And there's a video I did, I'll send you that video, right? For every application you are trying to host on AWS, in the documentation of that application, they will tell you what you need to install on your server for that application to work. So you don't figure this part out. I mean, based on experience, as you install more application, you will know what you need. But let's say you guys are just starting out and you guys don't know what you need. For any application you are trying to install, the documentation of that application will tell you what you need to install on your EC2 instance to be able to run the application. So for this static website we are trying to run, we need to install Apache server on our EC2 instance. That is why we run this command, to install Apache on it. So this is a command that if you've run it once, right? And again, I'm always saying, think of it, relate it back to your own computer. This is a software you are installing on your computer. Let's say I run this once. Now I put that command and I'm installing it. I'll give it some time to install. I think it's done, but I can't really see the bottom of it. Let me see here. I think it's done. Let me press enter here. It's still running. Oh, it's done. Right. So I've installed this Apache software on my EC2 instance. If you've related back to your computer, if you've already installed Microsoft Word on your computer, you can go back and say you want to install it again. It's going to give you an error, right? The same thing works with this one. If you've already installed a software on your computer, on your EC2 instance, you can go back and run this command again to try to install the same software. Then you'll run into an error. I don't want to run it now, but if I ran this, it will give me an error because the software is already installed.
Okay.
So when I was learning, these are the things, this is why this static website took me weeks to complete just this simple project, because I wanted to make sure I understand everything that I was doing with it. And once I understand it, I literally ran with it. That was what started this HOS node. If you guys go back and look at the first video I posted on YouTube, it was this static website. So, so now that we've installed the software, in the document, if you, on the video, I told you that this thing you are seeing here is nothing more than a folder that is on your EC2 instance. That is what this is. It is a folder. They also call it directory that is on your EC2 instance. And on the video, I said this directory, this folder will be created whenever you install the Apache server, because this folder works with the Apache server. Just like, again, I always relate everything back to my computer. Just like when you guys install any software on your computer, right? What is actually happening on the back end is, I think is on the C. If you guys go to C, and I think it's program files, right? You can see for every software you install on your computer, during the installation process, the software will create a folder in your C drive that is named, for example, this is Adobe software. This is when I installed Docker. For every software that is currently installed on your Windows computer, during the installation process, it would create a folder on your computer and it will put all the necessary configuration things that is supposed to be there, right? So that same concept is similar to this. When we installed Apache created this folder on our EC2 instance. So let's say I was trying to run this command before I install my Apache, you won't find this folder there. So now
you gotta do it in that direction, that directory, sudo update, install, all that. Okay, I
Yes,
get it.
for Linux command and bash script, you have to run them. They don't work in any kind of order. You have to run them in the order they are listed because we are doing one thing before we do the other, before we do the other. That is why you have to run these commands from top to bottom. So you can run this command before you run this. You have to run them in the order, right? So I'm going to clear my screen here. So now that I have installed Apache, it is telling me that this folder is on my computer. So this HTML is the folder we are trying to get to. So whatever you see at the end, that is the folder you are trying to go into. But it is telling you to find this HTML folder. You have to go in the var folder. Then once you are in the var folder, you go in the WW. Once you are in the WW, you'll find the HTML, just like I was showing you on my computer. This was how I was learning it. This project took me a long time to complete, but I also learned a lot about just cloud folders, Linux, navigating directories just from completing this project. So now you can see if you type all this command, this at once, it will take you straight to that directory. But I want you guys, when you guys are working on it for the first time, do it this way. So that's what I'm saying, you have to take your time. So type, I'm telling you that there is a folder now on your EC2 instance that is called var. So just type cd. Remember, anytime you want to change into a folder, you type the command cd. That is the Linux command that you use to change a folder. Just like if I want to go into a folder on my Windows computer, I just have to click that icon. Since we don't have an icon on our EC2 to click on, the command we will use to change the folder is cd. So if I type cd var and press enter, right? So maybe I just need to, no. So I'm just going to cd /. So I need to put the / in there because I'm going into a directory, right? So you can see now I was in the EC2 folder. Now I am in the var folder. Let me make this bigger so you can see it. So you can see here, I was in the EC2 folder. And when I type cd var, you can see I'm now in the var folder, right? So it is telling you that in this var folder, there is a www folder there. So when you are in a folder in Linux, to see what is in that folder, right? If you type ls and press enter, it is going to show you everything that is in that var folder, at least all the files you can see. So you can see now, when I list everything in this var folder, there is the www folder there. So now if I type cd again, www, that's how I go into that www folder and press enter. You can see now I went from the var folder to www folder. So now again in the www folder, if I press ls, it is going to show me everything that is in that folder. You can see in that folder, there's an HTML. Then if this HTML, I've already ls that. So to go in this HTML, I'm just going to type cd HTML. Press enter, right? And now you can see I went from the www to HTML. In Linux, if you want to know what directory you are in, right? If you type pwd, press enter, you can see where you are in is var www HTML. That is what makes up this command.
Yeah.
You understand?
I do.
Yeah. So the project is more than just, that's what I'm saying. The project is more than just completing, is more than that. When I'm talking about you guys understanding level, this is how I want you to understand it. So everyone's job is not completed when you finish that project. Your job is really completed when you finish the project and you understand it to this point where if I ask you just a simple question about, okay, what does this tell me? Just tell me in a basic way, just like you would tell a child. All this is saying is a folder that is in a folder that is in a folder. So when you go on your EC2 instance, just like I show you, there is a folder var, and in that folder there was ww. And when I went in the ww, there's an HTML folder, and that's what this is saying. So I hope that makes sense. But I'm telling you guys, this was exactly what I did. It took me weeks because I was struggling with just understanding the concept. And at that time, I didn't understand that I need to take a Linux course because I was just jump straight to launching. I was following someone else's tutorial and they were doing an Hello World. But I was like, I don't want to do an Hello World. If I have my own file, how do I upload it to an EC2 instance? That was what started all this. So this is how I want you to understand it. So you understand now, just follow the lecture the way I'm doing it. But the main thing is, if you want to understand the commands, it will be beneficial that you take a Linux course. And I'm not saying it's a Linux course that takes 5 days or something. I'm saying just watch a Linux course. You can find one on YouTube. You can buy one on Udemy. And I have one on the course that you can take that just walks you through just the basics of Linux, how to run Linux command. All this stuff will make sense to you then.
Okay.
Yeah. I know I kind of said a lot. Do you have any questions or I mean, what do you think was, do you have any?
You explained it. You explained it well. Uh, I'm assuming what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go take the Linux course, but at the same time I'm gonna see if I can have time to finish this and update and all this kind of stuff like that. But
Okay.
yeah, you made sense. Made sense.
Okay.
But that's the only thing that I was running into trouble
Okay.
with.
Okay. Yeah. So you see now I'm in this HTML. So if I press CD, back again, I'm in my home, right? If you want to go into that HTML directory, so if you want to go in that HTML directory, you just have to, if you run this command, I end up in the wrong home directory, but let me try this. If you run this command and press enter, you see it took me back to that HTML directory. You understand? So when I was running it one by one to go into the folder, if you don't want to run those commands one by one there to say, if you know the full part of where your folder is, if you type CD and this next to it, that is what it will take you to. So let's say in my WW folder now, right? There's only 2 folders in here that I showed you, which is this one and that one. So let's say I type something that is not in there. I just type this, right? This is not a folder that is in there. If I press enter, it will give me this error, which is telling me that there is no folder like this in that directory. Does that make sense? So it's the same concept as your computer. When you can go and look for a folder that is not in the folder, right? It's the same thing we are doing here. So if you are typing a command and it's telling you no such file or directory, it means that what are you typing there might not be there. So you will have to go in that directory and look for it. You understand? So that is really, that's really how it works. Exactly. So sometimes when you type the command and it doesn't work, then what I would do is I'll just start going into the folder one by one. I'll do first cd var. I'll go into that folder. Then I will type ls to see what is in there. Then I'll just keep going that way. That will help you troubleshoot things and that will help you narrow things down.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right.
That'll
Cool.
work. That'll work.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Shamika. So, Dylan, look in the Zoom chat. She
I see it.
posted like a Linux course there from Cisco. So
I see it.
and she said it's free. So check it out.
I will.
Okay.
We live in Maryland as well. You can try going to, if you have a library card, you can try going to your library. If you don't have one, and get a library card, and you can sign up for GAL, and that will give you access to free Udemy courses.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Gail.
And PowerShell.
Speak.
Okay. All right.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I've been trying to install Ansible on my Mac, and man, I've tried everything. I've tried Homebrew, and it just keep on installing, and like it never stops. And I have to just cut it off. I'm talking, I leave it overnight, and it's same thing. Yeah.
You are trying to install Ansible on your Mac computer?
Yeah. Sorry.
Why?
I'm doing some Ansible things, so that's why I was trying to install it, but it's not installed. I can install it on like AWS with an EC2, but when I try to install it on my Mac, it's just not going.
It's better to install Ansible on your EC2. I wouldn't install Ansible on my computer.
Okay.
I mean, that's it kind of defeats the purpose of it.
Okay.
And in your learning process, it defeats the purpose of what Ansible, what we use it for.
Okay.
Right? Because it's literally Ansible is just so if I bring back up this reference architecture, just a second. So it kind of defeats the purpose of of what Ansible is, right? Because even if you have Ansible installed on your computer, right, you would have to. How Ansible works is, okay. So let's say you have a private VPC, right, and you have a private subnet, and you are trying to configure something on your servers, right? So you can have another server here. You install Ansible on it, right? Then once you install Ansible on it, you can use Ansible to install something on that server, right? And how Ansible, at least how I've seen it done at work, is how this Ansible server is able to connect to these two servers you are trying to configure is through key pairs, right? So you have your key pair. Remember when I said in the Ansible project is that you have two key pairs, right? Anytime you create a key pair, two keys, you get two keys, a public and a private key, right? So your Ansible server has to have the private key.
I can ping them.
Right? Yes, and your server you are trying to configure have to have the public key. That is how the Ansible server is able to talk to this one. So if you are working from here, and you install Ansible on your computer, your computer does not have a direct way to talk to this server, even if you have Ansible, even if you have the key pair. So you will have to use a Bastion host, which your Ansible server have to go through the Bastion host to be able to talk to them. They don't really set it up that way.
Okay, cool.
So Ansible is not something you run from your computer. They really just run it from another server in your network. Yeah. So it's just better to use an EC2 instance. But you can deploy your playbook, right? You can deploy your playbook. Have you watched the Ansible project that is in your account?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
Okay. So when you watch it, it will make sense, right? So how we deploy Ansible from local is how we deploy Ansible from our local machine is, right? Let's say this is
I know, use it like a playbook.
exactly. So right,
Yeah, where you write the YAML file and so on. Yeah.
Your playbook is in your GitHub repository. You clone your GitHub repository to your computer. You can edit your playbooks there, right? Then once you edit your playbook, you can now send that playbook back to the GitHub repository, which the Ansible server will be cloning it from there. Then you just run your Ansible from your server. That is usually where they run it from, server. Or you can set up some type of CI/CD where you run it from the CI/CD pipeline.
Okay.
But they don't run it from your local, no.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I spend days wasting my time trying to install that thing.
No.
All right then. Thanks. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Good morning, Hafiz. I had a quick couple questions.
Yeah, sure.
So on the GitHub Actions project, so two things here. So like when I put the secrets in Secret Manager, I seemed to couldn't use them. So what I ended up doing, I improvised. I ended up putting them into I put my credentials in the local TF file, and it deployed. I know that's a workaround, but like, what if you was troubleshooting that? How would you go about it?
So you put your secrets, like the secrets in your Terraform code,
Yeah, I
right?
put the Terraform code. Yeah.
Yeah, the secrets in your Terraform code, you put it in Secret Manager, but you're saying your pipeline couldn't find it.
Yeah, my pipeline couldn't find it, so you end up just going to that local TF file and executing it from there in the Terraform code instead of the Secret Manager and grabbing it.
Okay. Yeah, so unless you set up some type of configuration for GitHub Actions to have access to your secrets in Secrets Manager, it won't be able to just access it like that, because you know everything in AWS is denied by default.
Right.
So it's been a while since I worked on that project, but I think how we did it is, right? Our Terraform code is able to access those secrets in Secret Manager. You agree with that, right?
Yep.
Right. So what we did is, I think in GitHub Actions, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a while since I worked on it. Either once I pull those secrets, in the Terraform deployment stage, you pull the secrets from, in the Terraform deployment stage, Terraform will pull those secrets from Secret Manager. But for the GitHub Actions, you can just upload the same secrets in the GitHub Actions secrets. And so your GitHub pipeline can pull it from there. I think that is how I did it.
You put it, yeah, I seen you do that. Well, I added it to my GitHub. So,
Yes.
but it ended up executing, but I felt like the threat was that I published my credentials to GitHub, basically.
So, oh, you think that is a trait, like you don't trust?
Well, it's a private repository, and on there I got access to it, but I know open, like that's not best practices, I would assume, right?
It is. I mean, GitHub Action Secrets is considered a safe place to store your secrets as well. Because if you notice, when you put a secret when you upload a secret to GitHub Action Secrets, it is only visible when you upload it. So let's say you put a secret in there and you don't remember the value of that secret. The next time you try to go verify it, there's no way for you to verify it. Because once you go in there, you can't see it anymore. You would have to either guess the value right or just update it. You understand? So yeah, so it is considered safe. So if someone has access to, let's say in your private repository, someone has access to your secrets, when they go in there, let me see if I can log into my let me see if I can log into my GitHub, and we'll test that theory. A second.
And then the second factor is why you're doing that. So when you in your Visual Studio Code, the Terraform action, you can use apply and destroy. right? So when I applied it, it created all the resources perfectly, no issues. But then when I destroyed it, I had no issues until the end. But it said something about my route 53. It couldn't. It said it said operation error, basically. Changed back. So basically, couldn't find it. Couldn't find the
Okay.
resource set. So I didn't know, like, and I didn't really want it to destroy my A record or anything like that. But I'm wondering, is that something you? Because I didn't see it pop up on yours.
So do you know what that error? So it is trying to delete your A record, right? Is it? And do you remember what that error said? Did you take a screenshot of it? If I say it, or do you still have it up? I
I
can
got
look at it.
looking at it.
Okay, just a second. We'll look at it. Let me see this GitHub thing.
Yeah, but I got you up on my Mac, and I'm looking at it on my Microsoft. So I will have to.
Okay.
I can send it to you though.
All right. So this is my pipeline for that GitHub Actions project. Let me see how I find the secrets now. So I think if I go to settings, then I go to actions.
Send variables, I think.
Runners.
Oh, yeah.
No, it should be down here somewhere.
Further down.
Secrets and variable, yeah. Actions. Right. So you can see my secrets here.
Right.
If I edit it, if I want to edit it now, see, I can't see the value. I can only update it.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So it is considered safe. At my job, in our GitHub Actions pipeline, this is where all of our secrets is stored. We actually the ones that GitHub Action needs to do certain things like if it needs like access key or stuff like that, they are stored here. Yeah. So even if someone has access to your repository, they can't see it because even me, as someone that uploaded the secret here, I can only update it. I can't see the last thing I uploaded in there. So it is considered safe, and you can use it in your production environment.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right. So yes.
Can you go back to the codes for this action?
Yeah.
The code.
Okay, the code for these actions. Let me.
It's up there.
You mean in my GitHub repository or on my computer?
This actions. You see where it says code?
Okay, let me.
Up there where it says code there. Down below the icon.
Yeah.
Just to your left.
My right. Oh, here.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, the IAC. And scroll down. Scroll down on the thing to your left. The TFVers. Can you click that, please? Yeah. So I know there's no GitHub ignore on this, but why is it exposed?
Because
I know GitHub Action needs it anyway, but usually we put it in the GitHub ignore. Isn't that a security issue right there?
No, because your repository is a private repository. Yeah. So
yeah, that's
if your repository is a private repository, you can have your TFRs in it. Only people that has access to that repository will see it.
But go ahead.
Go ahead.
But other projects we had a repo in private. We had to get the git ignore file to mask this TFVers.
So if you look here, right, these values we have in the TFVers file. So it is not the TFVers file itself that you can mix, because some people have all their configurations in there in the TFVers file. Like some people will put their RDS password and all that stuff in their TFVers file. So that is why GitHub is recommending that your TFVers file should not be committed, right? But if you look in this project, in our TFS file, we don't have any secrets in there.
Right.
So is that like, I guess like it's a private repository right now while we work on it. So when you complete the project and you wanted to make that public, would you remove that file?
No, you don't have to, because you don't have any secrets in here. These are just regular values, right? You understand?
Like the credentials,
We don't have, we actually intelligently, for our RDS instance, right? Our credentials is stored in Secrets Manager.
In Secrets Manager, yeah.
So we don't have any secrets, anything we consider secrets here that someone else can see. You understand what I mean? So you can still have a TFS file, right? But let's say you went the route of not using Secret Manager, and for your RDS, you just want to put your RDS password here. Yes, then you'll consider how you want to upload your TFS file, whether you want to expose it or not, right? In our case, the secrets that are in our Terraform code are actually stored in Secrets Manager. So we can upload our TFS file here. So in the other project, when we were building our Docker image, right, we had our secrets in our build script. That is why we didn't upload that build script.
Right.
Yeah. So the TFS file is not saying it can be in your repository, even though GitHub did mark it as part of the things that won't be committed initially. But that is just based on if you are actually uploading secrets in your TFS file. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's based on you. Yes.
Yeah. So do we, like, if we are using the enterprise version for GitHub Action at work, do we make use of the like we have private repos and we have antenna? Do we use a lot of antenna?
So I haven't used the GitHub Enterprise before, but what was your question?
It gives like with antenna, it gives with enterprise, it gives you the option to be able to create like internal repos that only people that are part of your internal network can be able to access. So I was just trying to ask if you use it and like some of the use cases, but
exactly. So I mean, you guys, because I'm sharing my repository with you guys, that's why you guys can see it, right? Your private repository, unless you make it public, only people you give access to it can see it. So at work, even if they have a space in their GitHub account, let's say this AWS Node 77 is our organization account, you can have access to the organization account, but still not be able to see certain repos in that space. You only be able to see the repo that are pertaining to your project that you need to have access to. So the issue becomes, the question is, at that point, it's just a business decision whether I've worked at a project where all of our secrets is in the things we will consider secret is in the TFS file, but it is fine because in that repository, only the people on my team have access to that repository. But in our project, you guys may choose to make your repository public, and if you choose to make your repository public, this is fine because in our TFS file, we don't have any secrets in there. We only just have regular value. Our RDS is the only one that has the secrets. And you can see here, we are using Secrets Manager. So someone that don't have access to your Secret Manager would not be able to retrieve the secret. So you'll see different setup at your company. But to say the TFS file does not, because it's a TFS file, does not mean you can upload it to GitHub. It's just a matter of if you are storing your secret in your TFS file or not. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
no problem. Go ahead.
My next question was from
Your
use case. I sent you error code too. From a case scenario, is this a common thing, like where you will build a website or application in GitHub and then like use GitHub Actions, or is it more like or you use Terraform more? Because it seemed like it do the same thing.
So you mean using GitHub Actions and Terraform?
Yeah, like
okay.
Which is it common use? Which one is it? Or
it's both. It's both. It's both. So Terraform is more of like an infrastructure management tool, right? If you use Terraform, think of Terraform as a tool you use to provision your infrastructure. Like you want to build a VPC, application load balancer, auto scaling group, or whatever in your AWS account, you use Terraform to do that. But the process of provisioning your infrastructure is just one process in your deployment. It is not everything you need to do. That's how you have to think about it. So let's say you want to provision resources in AWS. Terraform is good for that. But you also want to build your Docker file, right? Terraform is not really good for that. Or maybe you also want to build your Docker file, push your Docker file to ECR and all that stuff. Terraform is not really good for that. So the CI/CD helps you do all those different things at the same time. You understand? So that's why in our project, we are using the CI/CD. So basically, I guess to keep it simple, and one time I had a job interview, that was before I learned CI/CD. And the guy was like, do you understand how to build, how to configure a server? I said, yes. You understand how to write a Docker file? Yes. Do you understand how to push it to CI/CD? I mean, how to push it to ECR? I said, yes. Then he said, so do you understand CI/CD, how to work in CI/CD? I said, no. Then I didn't know CI/CD. It was like, so you just told me you understand all these things, right? How to write your script. You understand that the CI/CD process is just all those things you just described to me that you know how to do. Let's say you want to take your hands off where you don't have to keep doing that same thing every single time. You understand that you can use CI/CD to automate that process. So that was when I had my initial understanding of why we use CI/CD. So is what I'm saying makes sense? Like, so
yeah.
Applying Terraform is just one process in it.
I'm sorry to jump in. I put a video in the chat, and I used to have the same question early on when I was learning and all, but this video, I think if you understand it from like watch it 10, 15, 20 times, when you actually understand, what each tool is being used for, I think it's gonna clear, because the way he explains it is like, what the problem is, why we're even using CI/CD, why are we building this infrastructure using code, what the I think it's if we know what the problem is and how this tool is helping solving the problem, you're able to see where one is being used, and how using one is different from using one, how using Ansible is different from using Terraform, and how using Docker is different from using Kubernetes, right?
Exactly.
I think it does a brilliant job of explaining how all of these tools come together. Like one thing I did was this video. There's this app that I used to like transcribe like video. You can like get the transcript of everything it's saying, put it in your notes and just try and understand how everything comes together. And it has some good visuals as well, which would help. But I recommend this video if you're trying to understand, what each tool is being used for, and why we're using one instead of the other.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I got this platform, so I'll check it out.
Yeah. He's very good at explaining like stuff in a basic way, right? Yeah. So everything boils down to what I was saying. I agree. We have a bunch of tools. Yes, I understand what you're saying, Yashan. Like, we can use Terraform. You can kind of see it as like a CI/CD tool where you can use it to automate a lot of things. But the thing is, what Wab was saying, which I'm figuring out what this video will explain to is it the best tool to use for that problem you are trying to solve, right? So remember I said early on when we run Terraform is really, really good to provision your infrastructure. When it comes to like configuring your server, things like building a Docker file, you don't really use Terraform to do stuff like that. So it boils down to, I agree, what problem are you trying to solve and finding the best tool to solve that problem. So you'll see people using tools like Ansible for server configuration before they use Terraform, which is why when I was talking to Daniel earlier, I was saying for the Terraform project, I didn't want to have our configuration of our server in that same Terraform project because Terraform is not the best tool to do that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because I mean, when I look at it from a, like, I guess Ansible is more, they say, like a configuration management compared to Terraform, which is built for infrastructure. So, but it's kind of confusing sometimes because they say it's both. So like, I don't know. I watch that video and see what I come up with on that.
Yeah. So for the longest time, I used to avoid learning CI/CD, and I always try to tell them that I know CI/CD from understanding Terraform. Which to some extent, yes, you can say Terraform is it's kind of like it's not CI/CD, it's just automation, right? You can automate your infrastructure deployment using Terraform, but you won't be able to get away by saying because you know Terraform is CI/CD. No, it's not.
I personally, when I look at it, I think it's better because it tears down things and then it brings up a fresh start compared to like the other ones where you going in and you making like changes and like it don't track it from what I read about Ansible. And so it's like it can get really complicated really quick if you don't, the track of it.
Yeah, exactly. So now which is going back to what Wahab said about this video. So now do you use Ansible to provision EC2 instance and VPC? You understand? Is that the best tool to do that?
No.
You wouldn't. Exactly. It can, but some of these tools you'll find that they overlap in some ways where you can use them to do certain things. Like you can use Ansible to provision an EC2 instance, probably create an S3 bucket and all those things, right? But is that the best tool to do it? Just like you can use Python to create a VPC in AWS. Is Python the best tool to use to create a VPC? So I'll watch this video too. So basically, what tool you are using is based on what problem you are trying to solve. Even though some of the tools can do all those things, you have to make sure you are using the right tool to optimize. Pretty much the point of DevOps is just to allow you to work efficiently with the different tools that are available to you. So you want to make sure you are using the right tool for the right job. I mean, yes, Ansible would provision your infrastructure, but it is not the best tool to do that. But Ansible is very good at configuring your server. So let's say Terraform has provisioned your infrastructure. When it gets to that part where you need to configure your EC2 instance and you install your application on it, you can use Ansible to do that part.
Plus another thing you have to keep in mind is one big difference that I see with Terraform and maybe Ansible is, for example, if you provision like 10 instances, right? And those 10 instances are currently running, let's say in production. If you want to update them, let's say, for example, now I want to get a newer version of PHP, right? On all 10 servers, right? If I'm to do that with Terraform, it's going to bring down all 10.
That is true.
It would destroy all 10 and recreate, brand new ones. But with Ansible, it's not going to destroy all 10. Ansible is just going to go into each instance, update it, and they'll just keep running as normal. So that's one big difference I'd say with two is with Terraform, a lot of these things, it pretty much has to recreate a new one. But with Ansible, it can keep running. And then that updates would let's say a patch, for example, like you're patching something or you're making an update. Ansible can do that while that instance is still running. But Terraform is going to have to destroy it.
Yeah, but here's the, I don't want to complicate it, but here's the problem with that though. Like, so let's say you do them 10. Let's say you got 20 in the environment, but you do them 10, you change it. Then next thing you know, you need to change another 3. So like now you're starting to get like different configurations on different servers, and you have to keep a track of that compared to Terraform, where you just bring them down, bring them back up, everything looks the same. And that's from what I've been told from different people. It's like that's how, people
Yeah.
get confused because you got to keep a track of all that stuff
Yeah,
somehow.
I agree. I agree, right? Even though Ansible might not have the state file tracking thing, right? But and that also goes into the planning of provisioning your resources, which is why at work, you'll see they will have a whole documentation for naming resources, tagging resources, and grouping the resources. So if you know certain resources are going to be configured the same way, right? Ansible allows you to group those resources, right? So you can have some servers that are configured a certain way and other servers that are configured a certain way. So you can group those resources and you can have your playbook only deployed to certain servers based on if certain criteria are met. So even though, yes, you don't have the state file to track, but there is still a way you can pinpoint what you want to update. So you are not updating everything.
Okay.
So Ansible still works perfectly for when it comes to being able to configure as many servers as you want with just one playbook as opposed to using Terraform. So yes, everything boils down to what problem are you trying to solve and what is the best tool to solve that problem. Even though some of these DevOps tools overlap, the main thing is just finding the best tool that will solve that problem. I mean, they all would do almost the same thing, but um, certain tools are not good for. I wouldn't use, just like I was saying, I wouldn't use Python to create a VPC, but Python can create a VPC.
Aziz,
Yes.
I wanted to say something.
Go ahead.
Yes, so we all agree that every environment will be different from one another, and sometimes we want to be able to use the best tools, but there are different factors that might come into play, and then you might choose a specific tool over another, which is not always the best. So for example, if you have some kind of like if you are using a specific cloud, and then the company has um some kind of like advantages that it benefits from that cloud. For example, like with Azure, um there are a lot of things that if you want to be able to propose sometimes, and it costs that much amount of dollars, they would just prefer to kind of like go with something that works a little bit, and they are not paying that much, or they are paying barely close to nothing. So yeah, I just wanted to add that because it will not always be in every situation that the best tool always comes into play, but sometimes looking at cost and other factors, they will look for something which is closer, but something that they're gonna play less. So that's something I've seen as well.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes companies would pick a certain tool based on what is cost efficient for them. Yeah. So there's always different factors to what tools you guys are using and why a company would choose to use a particular tool instead of another tool. And ultimately, when you guys start working, that would be something you will notice that your company will have the set of tools they use. You would have to just learn what they are doing and work with that. And you also, in most cases, you also have an opportunity to recommend ways you can improve it or what other tools you guys can use to make it better. So, I mean, yes, with the DevOps tools, yes, go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
But just out of curiosity, you used GitHub Actions. Why did you use that one compared to Jenkins? Because Jenkins seemed to be kind of more widespread and open source. I'm just curious.
Yes. So I picked GitHub Actions over Jenkins because in all of my projects that I've worked, we've always used some type of modernized CI/CD tool. And with whether you are using AWS Code Build, GitHub Actions, or what other CI/CD tools out there that I've used, or Azure DevOps, right? You see that we just have to write the configuration on our YAML file, right? Once we write the configuration on our YAML file, once we push our code, the pipeline starts and it will create our resources based on what is on our YAML file. We don't have to worry about the server. We don't have to worry about patching. We don't have to worry about nothing. The server comes up and it goes away once it is done. This is much better than when you use Jenkins, where you have to provision the server, you have to configure the server, you have to manage the server, which sometimes has security. There's always like a security aspect to managing your Jenkins server because you are managing it yourself. And second is cost. As long as your EC2 instance keeps running, which you would have to use a instance type that is more than a T2 micro or whatever, that is cost. With those GitHub Actions, you can see, as you can keep deploying to GitHub Actions, the server will come up, create your resources and go away. You don't have any overhead costs because those containers are coming up, creating your resources and are going away. So for me, I would say why I prefer GitHub Actions over Jenkins is for two reasons. One is the fact that I don't have to manage any resources myself other than and I can just focus on creating my configuration. In the cloud, I mean, this in the cloud, but I've heard people say this a lot. Anytime you have to lean more on managing the resources or letting AWS manage it for you, I would lean more towards letting AWS manage it for me and me just focusing on my configuration. And for the second reason is the cost. Since I don't have to have an EC2 instance running all the time, I don't have to worry about the cost of running that EC2 instance.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Is this can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate this discussion because the reason why I want to say something is that I think recently I had an interview, right? So just like you guys were talking about various tools that has been used. So one thing I noticed is that if you go to each description, each company they have their tools that they use. So they asked me these questions we are discussing today, which is very, very important. And that's why I just have to say something in case anyone is also preparing and maybe in the future. So you study the tools they use in the company for the interview and stuff like that, why they want to use it and stuff like that, compared to what you know. So they asked me this question that, so do you have to destroy the Terraform? So what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? And you have the CI/CD like that. So I mean, I tried my best and I didn't. I'm not sure if I got it because I just started, learning that time. So, but this discussion really exposed and really exposed me to what is going on with different tools, just like we have discussed about Ansible, which is very important. So I found out that the company really wanted to use Ansible and Terraform, right? So, and what he was basically saying is that, okay, I don't have to destroy my Terraform. I can always go to the Ansible and configure the servers through the host.
Yeah.
So when you do that, then it will pass on the configuration and update all the servers. So it is important. So I just needed to say it because this is one of the things that they ask and they want to really know if you can contribute to it. So with all the tools out there, each company they have their own tools they use. So we need to study it and make sure that we understand why they use it and why they don't use this one.
Yeah. Thank you. So
I'd like to say something.
I think Wahab has his hand raised. So after Wahab, Shamika, you can go ahead.
No, I was actually gonna add to the Jenkins versus GitHub
Go ahead.
actions. But what was I even gonna say? And I'll be like, I know the company I work for, they use all. some companies have everything, like different departments prefer one to the other. The company I work for, I've seen them work with Jenkins, I've seen them work with GitHub Actions, I've seen them work with AWS Code Build. But I think it's gonna get to a point where Jenkins is gonna be deprecated, or it's probably like
It is.
yeah,
It is.
because one, like it just like as is mentioned, management is probably the biggest pain point of Jenkins. Like you have to consistently manage it. Even just for example, like adding a new user to have access to Jenkins, like that takes time. Like an administrator has to go in and create access for the user, what the user can do. Meanwhile, GitHub Actions, like as long as they have access to the repository and they are able to push to it, then it's just going to trigger, right? Like it's very easy to do that. So management is probably the biggest piece of it. Other things like, for example, like Azure DevOps, AWS Code Build, those are probably more native to like, the cloud platform. So,
Sure.
but GitHub Actions, the reason why it's probably popular is it's cloud agnostic. It doesn't matter if you're using Azure or AWS or GCP, like you can push to anything. Like the code build ones for AWS is probably like you don't want to use code build and then be deploying to GCP, for example. Like you're gonna have to pay for like data out cost and things like that. Like it's probably not cost efficient. So it's things like that that companies will put together and say, okay, you know what, this is why we use GitHub Actions. Or like they all do the same thing. They all have the same capabilities. It's just that, for example, with GitHub Actions, you just have to find an action and put it in. But with Jenkins, you have to know how to write the different syntax and stuff like that. So yeah, that's just my piece to it.
Yeah, that is very good. That I didn't even think of all that stuff too. Yeah, meaning that even especially what you said with the AWS native tools, right? So sometimes companies just like the convenience of having all their tools in one place. If, for example, if we are using AWS, the company that I was working for, they use AWS, so their CI/CD tool was in code build, you know. Um, and some companies will even use GitHub Actions because GitHub is kind of works with all the other platform as well. So since it's like one of the most popular source control you can use, right? It's much easier to integrate GitHub Actions with your AWS environment or your Azure environment. So yeah, I didn't think about that, and those are all good points. Yeah, the main thing for me that I've seen is, and even when I was working on another project, the our Jenkins environment was actually scheduled to be depreciated, and I really haven't worked on any project where we were using Jenkins as a CI/CD tool, not even one. The one project where I was using when we had a Jenkins server, we only had it for like doing things like, because they don't give you access to the management console to delete. You have access to the management console, but not to create resources or delete resources. So anytime we want to terminate a server, mainly terminating a server, we can just go run the Jenkins pipeline to do that. So that was in that project, that was what we used Jenkins for. And sometimes we use it to run the Ansible playbook, but other than that, it wasn't like their main CI/CD tool. And it was a team in the department that was using it. On that project, that was when I was working with Capital One. Capital One is very big. There are different teams there. So for the particular team that I was on, they used Jenkins for that. So when you guys, for those that are listening, when you are learning CI/CD tool, I know a lot of people in the boot camps because, and I feel like it's unfair to you guys because if you are taking a boot camp and they are telling you to learn Jenkins, everybody always asks me, are you going to add Jenkins to your list of projects? No, I'm not. You can go watch some videos on it just to get an understanding of how Jenkins work, but spend more time learning some of the modern CI/CD tools. I'll prefer you either learn Azure DevOps, GitHub Actions, AWS Code Build and Code Deploy before you learn Jenkins. There's just too much work when it comes to using Jenkins. And when you get to work, you will still have to learn any of these three tools. So I focus more on the modernized CI/CD tool instead of Jenkins. That's what I'll say. Oh, Shamika, go ahead.
I just wanted to go back to what was it Yoshan was saying about Ansible and Terraform. So my experience of using it and building some things is it's good to probably use both, because then what you can do with Ansible is you can configure the server and then take a snapshot of it and then use Terraform to manage that infrastructure.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree.
That seemed like a good strategy.
Yeah. So Terraform, I've always think of Terraform as creating your resources, but not necessarily configure them. So you're just using Terraform to create your resources, VPC, EC2, S3. Then Ansible, that's all we use Ansible for. When I was working with Capital One, we use Ansible to configure the servers all day. And I'm telling you, in the project, that was just one project that I was working on. In that project, we were using 1,500 servers, and they are all EC2 instances. So at any time, we are always configuring some of them, right? And that was what I was also saying with Ansible. Even though we have 1,500 servers or so, it is easy to find the ones you want to configure. There is something called like a dynamic, what is it? It's like a dynamic, I forgot what the name is. It's a dynamic, your inventory file. It's like a dynamic inventory file. It is able to see all the servers that are in your console at the same time, like in real time, where even if as you are terminating and adding new servers, it can see everything. And once it pulls that information based on the tags, that's why it is very important. At work, you will see that they have a whole policy on how you should be naming resources and tagging resources. Based on the tags that are on resources, you can now pinpoint the ones you want to find and the ones you want to configure. So using Ansible to find certain servers and configure them is very easy. As long as you are tagging your resources properly and you are grouping them within your Ansible playbook, you will be fine. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions?
I got one more.
Sure.
So I think you mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, but like, so let's say you want to deploy another application, right? Like, what do you recommend learning how to build a front end application, or do you recommend going to purchase one? Like, how do you get your applications, I guess, or what do you suggest for us in general?
So if you want to deploy another application, just I hire someone on Upwork. So I hire someone on Upwork. So there's this site called Upwork. It's like a site you can hire freelancers.
Well, you know what? There's a lot of free on GitHub. You can find a lot of projects on GitHub to work on.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I haven't had one from the GitHub repository before. Since I'm using it as like mine is kind of related to my business, so I try not to.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those free ones on GitHub as proprietary stuff where I can use it to teach you guys and make money of it. So I just hire someone on Upwork to create it. I'll tell them I want, for example, let's say I want to deploy a Node application. I'll tell them I want a Node application that works with Postgres, and we'll work back and forth. They'll send me the code, I'll test it, try to deploy it. If it works, then I would use it as on my project. That is how I've been getting my application codes, from hiring someone. But like Wahab said, you can find a bunch of them in GitHub for free. But I don't, unless you are trying to be a front-end engineer, don't waste time writing codes, because it takes, look at this HTML code. Let me open this. Open it. Right. Look at this code. This is the code deploying that Jupyter website. To be honest with you guys, I don't know what I'm looking at. I really don't. I'll just be staring at this all day. I don't know how this works. So, and this is just a static website. So imagine working with dynamic applications where you have all these different things, the back end, the front end. I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is, unless if that's where your passion is, and you really want to be a front end or back end or a full stack engineer, I wouldn't, let's say you're just looking for application to deploy your project, don't waste your time trying to write the codes. Because this is like a whole, just like you guys are going on your cloud journey, you are learning a whole set of skills. This is like the same thing. This is like a skill you have to learn that will take you months to a year to learn. So
Yeah.
unless if that's where your passion is, I wouldn't go this route of trying to code it myself.
Yeah, I was trying it. I was like pulling my hair out. I was like, I can't.
No, don't do that. You rather just put much of your time in cloud tools, learn as many cloud tools that you can learn as opposed to writing codes. If that, and at work, it doesn't work that way. You'll be working with front-end engineers, back-end engineers. They'll be updating their code and you'll be doing your part as it relates to the infrastructure. All of you guys are working and you guys are working together. It's rare that you see a company that wants you to have all three skills. Go ahead, Wahab. Oh, sorry. I thought you had a question. Yeah, so it'll be rare that you.
I had a question.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead, Dylan.
No, I ain't have no questions.
Oh, you didn't. Oh, you didn't. Oh, okay. Yeah. So it will be rare that you'll see a company that wants you to have all three skills. So on my project, I'm only doing the job that pertains to me as being a cloud engineer. But certainly, if you want to understand how to build the application, if you have time, you can work on it. But I'm saying, if you are strictly just trying to have the full experience, learning how to write codes for especially a website that looks like this will just take this is a skill of a professional, someone that knows what they are doing, and it will just take you time to be able to learn and understand how to write it. So I wouldn't focus on I bought this app from someone. I didn't write it myself. So that's what I was saying. Mr. Henry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry for you only mentioned from some servers you managed, like 1,500 servers, EC2. So I'm just kind of curious, even though you guys tagged everything. And so if you want to manage a configuration, for instance, inside a server, do you go to that particular server or you manage it from the host? Do you guys have a kind of a host that kind of, manages the configuration of all the servers? How do you just run through this?
So really how we're doing it is Capital One had this policy where any server that we are using for certain things that we were doing, those servers can be up more than 90 days. Because again, that's one of the downsides to like using an EC2 instance way, because you always have to be patching it and updating it. It's just their policy. So we don't necessarily, sometimes if it is something you can restart something, you can just go in and restart something in there or something of that is small like that. But how our playbook works is it would create the new servers. So our playbook will actually go in, install whatever the new update is, not on the old one, on a new set of EC2 instance. Once those set of EC2 instances are up and running and everything is fine, then we will terminate the other servers. That's how we were doing it. So it's not necessary, if it is something as simple as just changing a setting on a server, you can do that. But if it's like a heavy type of configuration, it's best to just configure them on a new server. And it's like more of like a blue-green deployment. Once the new servers are configured and everything is working, then the Ansible playbook will delete. We have an Ansible playbook that would delete the old server. And that was one on the project. I also said we will use Jenkins. Sometimes we'll use Jenkins to find those servers and we'll delete it. So, we were finding those servers based on the tags. whatever tags for whatever we are configuring on it, when we want to delete them, you can find them based on the tags.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I have a question on that. It's from your experience, like all this like changes, do they typically go through a CI/CD pipeline, or it's been done like by someone manually?
For the Ansible one?
Yeah,
Or
for
just
example, for the Ansible one now, like how was that change made? Like every 90 days, like you said, like would it be someone who would manually go and run those playbooks, or they were
yeah, it will be for us, it will be, and it was how our team was set up.
yeah,
It would be how there will be it will be in Jira.
yep,
There will be a change request for it. And once the change request is approved, then whoever is on shift for that day would have to go and just run the playbook to configure whatever we are trying to configure. So
okay,
I
and the
work
person will have to do it manually, right?
no through Ansible.
Through no, sorry, through Ansible, but how do they run how are they running the playbook?
Okay, so the playbook is stored in our GitHub repository, right?
Yeah,
And in Capital One's infrastructure,
yeah,
let's say this is the AWS account, there is an Ansible server in there. This is Ansible server.
yeah.
And these are the servers you are trying
Just
to configure, right?
update, yeah,
So if you are here, oh, sorry, I'm terrible. I'm using
yeah.
my mouse. So this is you on your computer, right? So what you would do is you will SSH into the Ansible server.
Oh, okay. So someone
Then,
actually would actually SSH into that
yeah,
server, right?
yeah, you will SSH into the Ansible server, right? Then you go into the directory where the playbook is. Then
Then you
you also
pull it
do
from
a
GitHub.
git pull. Yeah, you do a
Yeah.
git pull to get the latest playbook. Then you just run the Ansible server from there to do whatever.
So sorry, when you do that git pull, you get the latest playbook, and
Yeah.
the user will now have to manually run it as well, right?
Yeah. So once you SSH into it, you do a git pull. It pulls the latest playbook to the Ansible server. Yeah, you just run whatever command you are trying to run to deploy whatever playbook you want to deploy. So in our repository, there was a bunch of playbooks that does different things. So you identify the one you want to run, and it's just a matter of typing run.
Right.
Run
Has there ever been
whatever.
a situation, because if someone makes a mistake or they run the wrong command, that would update all our mini servers, right?
Yeah, that is why we use the blue-green deployment.
The blue-green. Okay.
Our
So
playbook
it
is
stays
spinning
somewhere
up.
first, and then
Exactly.
when it's fine, you change it.
Exactly. So our playbook is deploying new servers and configuring everything back on those servers.
Yeah.
While our playbook is doing that, one thing they also did in it is the old servers, because remember I said it was finding it with tags, right? So before the server configures the new one, it will just retag the old servers. The servers that we are trying to get rid of, it will tag it old. It will still keep the name, but it will put old, append old to the name, to the tag name. You understand?
Yeah, yeah.
So let's say the server is EC2. EC2. So when the playbook is running, it would retag it to old, EC2 old. Right. So now when the playbook is running creates new EC2 instance, it will tag those ones as EC2. EC2. So now when the Ansible playbook is finding the servers that matches EC2, it will only find the new ones because the previous one are tagged old. The tag don't match. You understand?
Yeah, and the user would have to manually do a check to make sure for the blue-green. Would the user do a check just to make sure everything is fine on the new EC2, right?
Yeah, so once you are done, your playbook is done running, you just go in the management console and verify. So you go there, you check that you have the same amount of new EC2 instance as the old ones. Then you check your application to see if your application is working, the configuration, see if they are on the new one. What we do is we usually leave this like a day, make sure everything is running. Then we'll go
for a
back
full day, and then you switch it. Yeah. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
No, we'll make sure once we switch to the new one, we make sure everything is running for a day before we terminate.
Before you terminate the old ones. Okay.
Yeah. So
And what time of the was there a specific time of the day that you guys did this?
at night.
Night. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
like again doing this during the day when everyone's trying to use the application. Could and even if, for example, someone makes a mistake,
Yeah.
it could take time. Yeah.
Sometimes people make mistakes, or sometimes you run a playbook, certain things don't work, the configuration
Yeah.
don't work. So which is why we still have the old one. We
Blue
can
green.
always shift back to the old one,
Okay.
fix whatever is on the new one, then redeploy it again. Yeah. So we always they always using the blue green. They don't just go and terminate the old one
Good
first.
ones.
You always have to make sure those ones are still running. And when you switch to the new one, let it stay for like some time, make sure everything is working properly. Then you go back to the old one and terminate it. Yeah. So, and that was just the team I was on. And my job on that team, it was more of like a data pipeline we were managing. That was why they had so much EC2 instance, because they were, Capital One being a bank, they have all this data they deal with. So that was why I was working on.
Expensive, right? It had to be expensive, right? To a certain.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm sure it's I'm sure it is very expensive to manage all those servers. Yeah, but for the application, for what my team was using, that was how the solution was designed. And mind you, when I was on that team, I never did anything Terraform. Well, maybe one time, but everything was more centered around Ansible running playbooks, managing the playbook. But there are other teams at Capital One that use Terraform and other tools. So it goes back to what Titus and Wab said. Sometimes based on the tool you are using is just based on your team, the team you are on, and what the team has deemed as the appropriate tool to use to do the work. So even though your company may, sometimes on the job description, they may have all these tools you need to know, but on the team you are working on, you guys may only be using a handful of tools. Like really, this past couple of months or year, I've probably been mainly using Terraform, AWS. I can't remember the last time I used Ansible at work. It's been probably like 3 or 4 years. So mainly nowadays, lately, my thing has been centered around AWS, Terraform, and container. That's it. And you guys will find your day-to-day is almost similar, which is why I always say sometimes you guys, what you are doing now is most likely the hardest part of your cloud journey. Once you start working, I'm not saying, I always say cloud is not easy and it's not hard either. It's just whatever you put in it, you'll get. But you can be assured that your day-to-day, you will have more of like a relaxed, it won't be as crazy as what it is to get in the industry. You'll get used to your day-to-day.
So I guess so if you're looking at it, you're trying to break in the industry, from what I heard from you, and maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong, you're gonna need Ansible on your resume.
Yep.
You're gonna need Terraform on your resume.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna need Docker and Kubernetes, right?
Mm-hmm. And you also need CI/CD.
And CI/CD.
Yeah.
Okay.
So those are the things that I recommend. One cloud provider, Ansible, Docker, Kubernetes, CI/CD, and Terraform. If you have those, pretty much everything I'm sharing with you guys, that is why I've limited our projects to those tools. Those are a good solid foundation. Like that is what my foundation is based in. And I'm saying that I've used that same foundation to work for so many years now. And when you have this foundation, you can use that knowledge and what you know now and build on it. I take Titus and Wahab, for example, right? Even Shamika, right? You guys have at the point now where I'm always learning from you guys, especially even sometimes when I'm explaining something. Wahab is even able to explain it in a way that is more clear to me. That is the main goal that I'm trying to achieve. Get you guys to a point where you guys understand the foundations of just how things work, and you take that knowledge and you build on it. So they are able to take their knowledge now, go watch That's why if you guys, when you guys that follow me, I don't ever discourage you guys from trying to use other people's platform. I will even show their stuff on my page, because for me, it is not about just promoting my platform and telling you this is the only way to learn clouds. I've watched Code Clouds tutorials before. When I was trying to learn Kubernetes, I actually watched his, I think it was like his 10 minutes video on Kubernetes, just the basics of Kubernetes, right? So I recommend using other people's platform, because the main thing is getting you guys to the point where you understand. My goal is try to get you to understand AWS as a whole, how you can use your knowledge to create different resources in AWS, understand Terraform, Ansible, Docker, Kubernetes, and CI/CD. Once you take that knowledge, you have a solid foundation there. Your job is not done. So cloud is always changing every day. You guys just don't rest and just be like, I'm done. I know some of these things. You have to continue working on different projects. So there are a lot of projects we haven't worked on here. We haven't done a data pipeline project. So you guys find a good data pipeline project you can do. How about do a project on where you incorporate Terraform and Ansible? You know, do a project that just involves different things, and that is how you keep your knowledge up. I'll tell you guys, when it's time for me to tell the story, I'll tell the story. But I'm telling you guys now, the biggest asset you have is your skill sets. I'm telling you, as long as you keep building your skill sets, nobody can mess with you. Even if you guys hear that they are laying people off, this and that, don't be concerned about that. Just have confidence in your skill sets. When it's time for me to tell the story, I'll tell the story. But that is why I'm always preaching, develop your skills, work on the project, make sure you understand what you are doing. Your skill sets is the biggest asset you have, because once you have that skill set, you can take it anywhere, and you always have an opportunity to work for someone. If you don't want to work for someone, you can work for yourself. You can monetize your cloud skills other than working a 9 to 5. This site that I'm showing you, you can go on that site, Upwork, and you can find a bunch of freelance work. There will be people there looking for people with cloud skills to do certain things. And you can charge them any amount you want that you feel you are worth. You can look for work there, and you can try to look for contracts. There are contracts out there where they are looking for certain people to do certain things. You know, there's just so many ways you can try to mentor people, right? You can post videos on Instagram, TikTok, and just try to find people that way and help people and monetize your skill sets that way. So there's more than one ways you can monetize your cloud skills. So and how are you able to do that? By focusing on your skill sets. So I'm saying if you have a good solid foundation on those tools Yashan mentioned, which is AWS or any cloud provider, Terraform, Ansible, Docker, CI/CD, what else? Kubernetes, and source control, things like Git, GitHub, pushing, and then one thing I also want you guys to add to, I'm creating a video on that, is Jira. Just understand like just understand like the whole what do we use Jira for and all that stuff. You are fine.
You don't and I know this is kind of jumping out there, but you don't think AI like Bedrock or learning about them kind of skills is, I guess, something the way that the field is going, or you don't think that should be added?
Not when you are starting out, but for someone, if you've completed all your project to the CI/CD, right, then yes, do an AI project. But I'm saying you guys just have to understand how to use AI. You know, you don't really have to. You don't really have to. You don't necessarily have to. I don't know what. You don't necessarily have to understand how to write the code. Just understand how to use AI. I use ChatGPT all the time, especially ChatGPT 4. And another video I want to make is, you guys know now that ChatGPT 4 can speak to you. So just like we are having this conversation, you can have a conversation with it. You can, any AWS questions you have, curiosity you have, things you want to challenge it on, let's say, I can start by saying, you know what, I'm trying to use Terraform to create resources in my AWS. I need to configure my credentials on my computer. How do I start? It would talk to you and you can follow back up with questions and it will follow back, and you can even show it stuff that is on your screen. I've done that before. I wanted to make a video on it. So when it comes to AI, I would say for now, if you are still in the beginning stage, learn all the basics first. All these things we've talked about, Terraform, Ansible, Docker. If you have room for an AI project, do an AI project, kind of like what we did, or look for other ones that may be more complex. But I wouldn't focus 100% on it without understanding the basics. But I think where AI is going, just understand how to use it to make your job more efficient. So if you can use it to make your job much more efficient and easy on a day-to-day, that's, at least for me right now, that is what I'm using AI for. I use pretty much AI for my job every single day. There will be sometimes, like let's say we get like a bunch of findings in Security Hub. Then I have to like organize those findings by the team. I have to organize the findings. Then once I organize the findings, I have to draft an email to the team and send them the email. I just use AI to do it for me. I'll just give it my data. These are my Security Hub findings. I want you to organize the resources by the region. Then I want you to draft an email. And it does all that stuff for me, and I just paste it. So something that would really take me an hour or two to do, I can get it done in like 10, 15 minutes. So that's what I use AI for. I say the most biggest thing is understand how to use AI to do your job.
Yeah, and to add on the AI piece as well is, for me, like I'm just looking as AI as, something that I can use to be more efficient. I don't, apart from maybe working for the big companies, maybe the Amazons, Nvidia and co, most likely you're not going to have to deploy an AI tool
Exactly.
or code an AI tool, because even those, like apart from maybe like maybe 3, 4 companies that have actually built the core AI, most of all these other companies, their so-called AI is just them using ChatGPT's APIs,
Exactly.
yeah, right?
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
I see now Jira, Confluence, they all have AIs and it's all just backed by Chat. So then they're not building it, they're basically just paying um open AI for an API key and then plugging that into their platform. So I'm just looking at it as, how I can work efficient with it. I most likely would not work at a company where I have to deploy or build an AI tool.
Exactly. I agree. So you said it perfectly than I was trying to say, right? So yeah, focus on how you can make your life easy by using AI. Yes, I probably won't. No, I won't. And I don't have passion to go work for a company where I have to write the code that actually does the AI stuff, that is able to do all these things that ChatGPT is doing. But ChatGPT is available to you, and any AI tool you guys are saying now, whether it's GitHub,
Netflix, all of that. Yeah,
Copilot, and all
they
that
all
stuff.
have AI. It's
Exactly.
all open AI behind it. Or maybe
Exactly.
Anthropic, for example, it's all open AI behind it.
Exactly. Exactly. They are just calling some AI API that is you giving it your request, and on the back end, it is sending it to the AI API, and it is giving you back your response. So, which is why I was saying, like some of the apps, like when we worked on that AI project, we can actually turn that Python code
Yeah,
into an app where
yeah,
a user will go in there, upload their two datas, and they'll get a response back. And all is happening on the back end is your code is running, sending it to Anthropic, and Anthropic is providing the response. So yeah.
And if in was it in the VS Code, you can actually use AI in the VS Code. Like I use Tab9. It's good for like coding actually. You can use it for different codes that'll help you with, and like it really works. Like when you start to like type a code, whether it's Terraform or anything like that, like it can predict what you're about to write next and just put it inside like it's like a, you know how when we comment out stuff, it'll put it in gray, and then if you want to use that code because that's what you're looking for, you just tab it and it'll go on there. So that's just another extension that you use inside NVS Code that have AI built in. It's called like Tab 9, another one's called Bitto, I think it is. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I agree. So, and there's, if you look at every tools that's available to us as a cloud engineer, almost all of them has AI now. And I saw an interview, I was trying to find it where the NVIDIA CEO was talking about how you guys should see AI. And I agree with him because sadly, I don't know how to write the codes of, I don't even understand what AI does on really on the back end, but I understand ChatGPT 4 and how to use it. And that's just what I've been using it to do on a day-to-day. And I use it at my job day-to-day. Things like if I have a error in my code that I can't really find the troubleshooting stuff, I'll use it for that. If I need to draft an email, not draft an email, I still write out my email and I use Grammarly. So I'll write out my email. Grammarly has a good AI tool that is able to make the email sound like me. Because don't just tell ChatGPT to write an email for you. But if I have something to review, I actually don't use ChatGPT to review writings. If you guys want to review writings or draft an email, Grammarly is much better. Then they have AI built into it too that can do that. So I would use Grammarly for that. Things like ChatGPT, I'll use it for stuff like analyzing data. Um, the only time I use it to draft an email is when I said I use it for that security of finding. And based on the finding, I wanted to write an email that is tailored to the team. It would do that. So I'll use it for stuff like that. So mainly focus on how to use AI to optimize your work day to day. So imagine if you know all the work you have to do on a day to day at work, and instead of doing all those work every day, you write some type of AI code, like similar to what we did with that Bedrock project. And you just have a bunch of those code on your computer that you can run. Like I said, with the data stuff that I have to do, it would take my coworkers like even me 2, 3, 4 hours to do. And I can get it done in 15 minutes using AI. So I'm saying all that to say, focus on how to use AI to make your work efficient. So the interview that I was looking for, you guys should look for it, is the NVIDIA CEO talking about AI. And he's saying it's not AI that will take your job. It's just people that knows how to use AI that will take your job. And I agree with that statement. I think everyone, go ahead.
I want to say he made a statement, kind of, a lot of people got in the uproar, but he was like kind of like saying that you may not need to learn how to code, because AI is getting so good that like coding is going to be irrelevant to like learn. Like he was telling like, I guess like like kids, and a lot of people was disagree. Some people did, some people agree, but
yeah, he had another one. I think coding is more than just writing code. Like if you've ever tried to write a Python code, you will understand. Coding is more than writing. So I agree, but I don't agree. I think coding is like a skill, and one of the benefits of coding is just problem solving, how you are able to think about stuff. When I was reading that Python book to write a code, they'll give me a small task, and I'm thinking one way to write it. Then when I go and look at the solution in the answer part of the book, or seeing other people solve the same problem, and you see how they actually think to solve the problem, I was like, man, I wouldn't have even think to do it that way. So I think coding is just more than writing code. I think the problem solving part of it is very important. And if you want to learn how to write code, you'll be getting that from it more than you are learning how to write a code. So I get what you're saying, but I'm not sure if I necessarily agree or disagree. But hey, we'll see
you took Sam Altman was like, coding teach you how to logically reason, like critical.
Exactly. That is the biggest thing about coding, because when I was learning Python, that was what I found. if you have that, and that's why I always try and tell you guys, if you guys understand if you guys understand the concept of what you are trying to do, I guarantee you, you'll find the answer online. This coding community, Python community, any coding, AWS cloud, there is so many answers online. And now we have AI. So the main thing you have to do is focus on the problem solving part. What am I trying to do? And that is what I tell ChatGPT all the time. I'm always telling it what I'm trying to do. I'm not necessarily telling it, how do I solve this? Sometimes ChatGPT will give me a response and I'll tell it, okay, based on this response, isn't it supposed to be like this? And it may come back sometimes and be like, oh yeah, my apologies. Yes, you are actually right. This is wrong. I've reviewed it. So it's not always right 100%. So I see it more of like a tool that is there to help you guys do your job much efficiently. And that, I think that's what you should use it for. And it just makes your day much easier. Now, tasks that may take you hours to do, you can get it done in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're trained, AI is trained models. So like they be getting a lot of their information sometimes from the internet. So if
True.
it's not,
True.
if you don't know specifically what the concept is and what you're trying to do, it can come back with a wrong answer.
Exactly. Exactly. So the knowledge is still needed. The foundational knowledge is still needed. Things you guys are doing now is very important. It's still needed, which is why I wouldn't skip that part for anything, which is why I said, do this first. Once you are done, you understand what you are doing. You are very confident and solid in your foundations in all these tools. Then pick an AI project to do. And while you guys are going through the project, try to use AI too, but use it more for reasoning. Ask questions. Uh, um, what's the word? Challenge it on something. Why did you do it this way? I want to do it this way. Do you think this way is better? That's what I use it for, honestly. I don't just post stuff in it and just tell it, give me the answer. Then I copy the answer, put it somewhere. No. Especially if you don't understand how to write Terraform, right? And you just tell it, oh, write me a Terraform code for NEC2. It writes you the Terraform code and you copy paste it, right? That won't work. You still have to understand what you are doing. So I think having the foundational knowledge is definitely needed before you start using AI to do anything. But as you guys are learning, you can use AI. Just like you guys ask me questions all the time, you can ask AI those same questions. That's what I'll say.
And I put a snippet in the chat of this example of what like tab 9, why I like it. Because I'm the same thing when I'm doing an application or coding something and I want to know exactly what it does and explain it. It actually gives you the links inside the inside VS Code. You see that where it says you can test it, you can explain it, and you can get links to documentation about it. And it'll take you to like that's a JavaScript code, and it'll take you to JavaScript to explain the documentation what that does there.
I see. So. Yeah, exactly. And code, I think on GitHub Copilot does the same thing too. Yeah. So these are the things you should be using AI for. To enhance your knowledge, not necessarily being, sorry for lack of a better word, not necessarily being lazy and just wanting to copy paste things from here to there. You are just really using it to help you understand things much better. I mean, that's exactly what I use it for. But if I have like a data stuff where I need to structure a data, I'm not going to go through 500 lines of different words and try to function. You can use AI for stuff like that. Someone said, do I have any YouTube playlist on DevOps? Yes, I have YouTube playlist. They are under my playlist. So I have my playlists are pretty much organized based on, they are organized based on a tool. So I don't have a DevOps playlist, but I have like YouTube playlist on Terraform, I think CloudFormation and Ansible. So if you go under my channel here and you go to playlist, so you'll see I have some playlist here based on different things. So there's one for CI/CD, there's one for Ansible here, there's one for Docker. They might not have a lot of videos in there, and there's some for Terraform. So my playlist is not based on DevOps, even though they are DevOps too, but it's more based on teaching a particular tool. All right. Yeah, I think we are over time. Do you guys have any other question before we go?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to let you guys know. I do like doing full stacks. I have some applications like websites that if y'all want to like use my template, let me know. I'm in Slack, so it's good practice for me.
That's
So
good.
yeah, and you too as well as like if you want to use like a website that I build, just like that, like a web template. So
Okay,
So
sure,
where can we
sure.
find you at?
I'm on Slack.
Where can
I keep my Slack on all the
Slack?
time. Yeah.
Okay, all right, all
So
right,
my
all right.
Slack is I can
I'm
see
gonna send
y'all every time y'all
everybody
have news and
a
stuff.
friendly request on Slack. I'm gonna send everybody a friendly request on Slack.
So,
For 30 minutes for AI is crazy. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to discourage you guys from being full stack, but I'm saying if that's where your passion is, then go for it.
yeah.
Coding, I just don't have any desire to learn how
The
to code.
patience, yeah. I
But
realized I love it when I built that project
yeah,
that I
cool.
loved it. But just a quick lesson for y'all. Every like model application y'all see, front engineers don't all the time build the style of it. They maybe get the template and then they put the CSS style in there, and then
True.
they build the HTML and this JavaScript. So,
True.
but if y'all want me to, I definitely can use the practice. So.
Yeah. I'll say, Yashon, you can reach out to Shamika if you want to. Do you guys want to collaborate on building an application that you guys can deploy in AWS? So
Yeah, on your assignments, like the stuff that we've been doing already, and like they want to just use my front end web application to
exactly,
do it. Yeah.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
I'll,
So go ahead.
I said I'll reach out. I'll definitely reach out for sure.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yes, if you prefer to do full stack, go for it. But I'm saying at work you have other engineers that are there. But in the cloud world, that is also good. Knowing full stack, you're also gonna be work more than just one person that just know just one skills. So if you understand how to a full stack engineer developing the front end and back end and also the cloud part, I'm telling you on the project, the last project that I work on, my lead, that was his job. So now you are getting into the realms of you don't have to be a regular cloud engineer. You can be a manager or a lead. Because my lead, he was the connecting factor between me, the front end engineers, and back end engineer, because he knew everything.
yeah, I think I realized I loved it, AZ, when I find myself coding all the way to the morning.
Yeah,
Then I was like, okay, I think I'm liking this full stacks because I like to be able to see what it looks like on the front end. So
I agree.
yeah.
I
So,
agree. Yeah, I think maybe it's because I started with Python. Writing that Python code just made
yeah.
me realize,
Yeah.
that's not coding is not really. I won't say it's not for me because I said the same thing about cloud, and here I am. So,
Yeah. Well, I
so
learned a lot from you. That's I think what it is. But I think it just when you realize you want to do something even more, then you realize, okay, maybe full stack is what I want to do, or maybe back end is what I want to do.
exactly,
Yeah. So
exactly. Yeah, so it doesn't have to learn everything and figure out. But I'm just saying, if you guys are just trying to code the same application you are trying to deploy in AWS, and you don't really have an interest in coding, then don't do that because you'll just be wasting your
I
time.
agree.
But
Yeah.
if you care to learn the front end and back end, then find a good course on that, develop the app, then use your AWS knowledge to deploy it, and you'll be good. Okay.
What I guess this is a good question to ask. Let's say you want to build your own website, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you build the front end and you do the stuff on the back end. You think that's something to put on your resume and that would like stick out as kind of like experience?
Yes, yes. That was how I got my first job. I remember I told you guys I had in the previous industry I was working on, the previous industry I was in, the previous industry I was in, I was like a CAD designer. That's what I did. So I still have experience. Like I can do like 3D modeling, designs of stuff, right? So anything I've ever done as 9 to 5, I've always tried to like post it on YouTube and stuff like that. So I can make 3D stuff, right? So then I used to teach people how to do this stuff too, right? So like making 3D of something, right? So what I did is I had like a class where I was teaching people. I designed my I deployed my website in AWS. I didn't design it, but it was WordPress and I hosted it on AWS. That was how I actually learned the WordPress thing. And I put it on my project and I put it on my resume. But I didn't say it was mine. I said it was the company I was working for. And that was how I got my first offer.
Yeah.
So you guys just gotta be creative. Don't lie about your skills though. Whatever you can do is what you can do, right? But that was how I got my offer. My site is no longer online. But yes, I used to do this. Then I created a whole website for me training people, and I just said, you know what, this is the company I'm working for as a cloud engineer. I'm helping them manage their cloud infrastructure. This is the reference architecture, and the guy quizzed me on everything, and that was how I got my first job offer. So yes, I recommend doing that if you want to do that. Yep.
Thanks.
No problem. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Because another 1 hour over. I appreciate you guys always staying because we were supposed to normally we always stay to like 1, but lately we've been going over, which I appreciate. I don't mind as long as everyone's trying to learn. I also don't mind being here. So
AZ, I just wanted to also mention, so I did get accepted for apprenticeship, so I'm hoping I get it for Verizon. So I'm going through the process of that right now.
wow.
Using the projects, yeah, I uploaded the projects that I did with you, and then my project I did on my own, and I got
Okay.
accepted for that. So I'm kind of excited about it.
Oh,
Going through the hiring
congratulations.
process. Thank you.
Congratulations. Everything will work out well. So, which is what I'm saying, you see, you guys, it's not really about being a professional or stuff like that. Sometimes when I got my first offer, even though I told the guy, this is the company I'm working for, and he quizzed me on different things, he was able to know where my knowledge is, right? But at the end of the day, he liked the fact that I've done all this stuff on my own. And I'm saying that to say sometimes, just like how Shamika is, you can share your projects with them. And if you share projects with them, you have an opportunity to, you share it, and you're also able to explain it. Someone will give you a chance, you know. So it's really more than just applying to work and waiting for them. Sometimes you gotta get creative. So congratulations. Let me know if you need anything as you go through the process. But I'm sure you'll do very well.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thanks.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you guys. I will see you guys, some of you guys throughout the week and some of you guys next week. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Have a good weekend.
All right, no problem. Bye.